Thank you. Let's forget about that. I'm going to put this link in the chat, and I'd like for you to respond to these questions, well, these prompts. Drop that in, and I'll share my screen so we can see what everyone is looking at. If you haven't used Jamboard before, there is a, let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen? I think you can, yes. Right here is a Post-it note. So you click it and yep, looks like someone's already doing it. Click the Post-it note, put it where you want. And then you can move it around. Stick it where you like. So you can go ahead and add your responses to that. And I want you to think as broadly as you can. You're not limited to just one thing. So think of all the many things you would do if money were absolutely no concern for you, if it essentially had no consequence. We're going for quantity. Consider this a brainstorming activity. Mhm. Nice. Would anyone start a business? All right. I know I probably would. I probably give a lot of it away, but then I pay off a lot of debt and then find ways to invest. That's interesting. Would anyone invest any of their money, or how much of it maybe would they invest? Feel free to come off mute.
My thought is if money were no object, I wouldn't necessarily even have to invest.
That's true. That's true. Anybody else? All right, we're gonna go to the next one. Next prompt. So what comes to mind when you hear the word budget? What do you think of? And you can put the sticky notes on that page, or you can unmute, whichever one works. Mm. What about fun or freedom? That's what I kind of think of. So spreadsheets, saving money, paying bills, planning ahead, which is essentially what budgeting is. We do that with our time, and we also do that with our resources. So it's not that much different from budgeting when we're talking about it in the financial sense. One more, let's see. What did you spend your money on today? And if you happen to just stay on campus, let's say over the last, this week, so from like Monday until today, what did you spend your money on? Mhm. Shoes. Give me a thumbs up if you're actually thinking like, what did I spend my money on? Or if you know specifically. Ooh, okay. So we're eating out. So basically what I'm saying here is food and what I would consider gifts or presents. Got it. All right. Well, thank y'all for participating in that quick, not really a survey, but that little activity just to kind of get your minds in the space of finances and personal finance. We have two poll questions that I'd like you to also answer, just to give us an idea of where we're gonna go with this conversation. Can you all see the questions on the screen? Did it pop up? Okay, great. So I'll give you. All right, let's take a look where we all are. Can you all see the results? Do they pop up on your screen?
They were there for me for a moment, but now I don't see anything now.
Okay, I'll share them right now. So these are the results. Can you see? Yes, you can. Okay. So in our group of 4 students, the first question, of course, of this list, which is the most important financial goal? Half of you said to invest in something. Which is the most important financial goal to you?
We don't see it. We
Can't
see a blue screen.
a blue screen.
Green, blue.
Can you see my mouse?
Yes, I see it moving.
We just see your desk.
Oh, yeah, now. That was
Okay. Can you see my desk? So now where is it showing up
in the center.
on your
It
screens? Okay.
finally like opened for us. Your desktop isn't doing anything anymore.
Okay. You don't see my desktop. You can still see the results.
We can still see the results.
Got it. Okay. All right. So for the most part, it looks like we're interested in learning, obviously, this is where you're here, learning more about personal finance. And we kind of span the gamut of, I need a lot of help to, I have some of it figured out. And so I'm glad about that. Let me stop sharing. Because we're going to walk through a lot of the basics and the fundamentals of understanding money, how to utilize it, and what institutions you should be associated with, meaning banks, in order to grow your knowledge and also actually grow your money. All right, so let's get to it. So we, before we get into talking about the nitty gritty of like banking, let me share this. Dr. Russ, let me even back up. Hello, everyone. I'm Medina. I'm the Assistant Director for Programming with the Hopin program, as well as with the Fly Network. And I am here with Dr. Mia Russell to facilitate this program, Securing the Bag, in which we'll discuss establishing financial goals and getting banked. And we'll talk about what it means to get banked a little later in the workshop. Okay, so in terms of talking about personal finance, we want to spend some time discussing establishing financial goals. A lot of times we think about becoming millionaires, thousandaires, hundredaires. We think about getting to a point where we have a certain amount of money that will allow us to be comfortable, but there are several steps that one needs to take in order to reach that, in order to reach it within a time frame, and also how to get there systematically. And so setting financial goals isn't only just about saving money, but it's about creating a system for yourself that allows you to look at where you are. To first, in the first step, to identify why you're pursuing this particular goal or pursuing this amount of money or this particular financial endeavor, to assess where you are, right? Sometimes you might be closer to your goal than you think, or you may be completely off. To sit down and plan out what will it take for you to get there, to track your progress, and then to celebrate and kind of reflect on how far you've come. And so those are the 5 steps essentially of setting and establishing a financial goal. And so we're going to go through this over the next couple of minutes, and then we'll move into understanding our financial habits. So the first thing, finding your why. We can assume that everyone just wants to have money, but when you have it and you amass it, what do you want to do with it? What is the purpose of you, pursuing a particular goal? So some of the questions that you'd want to ask yourself is, what is the inspiration, right? Do you just want to do it because that's what Instagram is telling you to do right now, right? Save money, open up an LLC. I mean, I don't know, everyone's Instagram is a little bit different based on your algorithms, but spend or invest in this and buy this stock and Dogecoin and crypto. Is it because of what you're hearing, or is it because of you grew up a certain kind of way and you want to change that, or you want to, move up a different socioeconomic class? What is your inspiration for your financial endeavors? Why is it important? What will it mean if you have a certain amount of financial assets? And then what will it also mean for you? What will it mean to you once you accomplish that goal, right? Is it just a check, or does it open up additional doors for you? So that's the first step in setting any kind of goal, is trying to determine the why behind it. The next step is assessing your current state. And this is probably maybe one of the most scariest parts, because you have to be honest with yourself about where you're spending your money and what you know and what you don't know about money. And this part can kind of feel overwhelming. It's oftentimes a lot of the reasons why folks don't sit down with their finances, because it's like a mirror that's being held up to them. But you can start by asking, again, simple questions. How is your money set up, right? Do you have income? Do you have a bank? Do you understand what kind of accounts you have? Do you have debt? And if so, how much do you owe and who do you owe it to? Knowing where your debt is situated will have an impact on how you approach your goals and what your goals may look like over a particular span of time. And then the biggest one, if you do have income, where does your money go with each paycheck? You get $1,000 and then within 2 days, it's like, I only have 10 now. And when someone asks me, well, what did you spend your money on? if you notice that was one of the first three questions, it may be hard for you to realize like where it's going. You don't realize you're spending maybe 60% or even more on food and going out and kind of miscellaneous things versus saving, investing, or intentional projects or whatever it might be that you have in mind. So assessing your current state may take some time, but it's probably one of the most important steps because that is from where you will launch and decide which way you can go financially. Once you have figured out your why and you've assessed where you are with your finances, now it's time to create the actual goal and you want to write these things down. I will show you an example. You can see this. Oh, you can't. I'm glad it blurred out by itself. I don't want y'all to know how rich I am, but these are my goals that I set for myself. You can't see the numbers on them, but I have some pretty large ones up here. Writing down what your actual goals are, when you will achieve them, how you will do it is paramount to actually achieving them. And so because I know at least 2 of you are Hopkins students and the other 2 of you are likely Fly students, I know you may have heard of SMART goals at least once in your time being at Hopkins, and I'll walk through the acronym. Similar to just similar to how you set goals academically, you want to be specific. I want to save $30 a month. I want to open an account by March 2022. You want to be very specific about the goal that you are setting for yourself. And the M, you want them to be measurable. How do you know that you're making progress? Excuse me. How do you know that you're making progress? What is the exact number that you're shooting for? And that's important because you want to know when you've succeeded, right? A lot of students and a lot of people say, oh, I want to save money. Okay, sure. And after 6 months or so, they realize, oh, I saved $30 in 6 months, but you make a significant amount of money. It's like, okay, if you were a little bit more specific and measurable about that particular goal, you'd be able to maybe raise it or understand why the number is what it is. Making sure that it's achievable. In as much as I'd like to believe that I'm a superstar and I should be paid a couple $100,000 more, realistically, I'm not going to ever be able to save $20,000 in 1 year. That would not be a goal that's realistic or achievable for me. And so again, once you assess where you are in your finances, you're able to see what can I actually do? What's within my reach? If you're a work study student, you know that there are some caps on your hours and your earnings. So you know from there, well, I only work, say 10 hours a week, which probably gives me $170 a week. So this is a certain amount that I can save from that. And then the R and the T is making sure that, ooh, let me skip page. There should be an R and a T, realistic and timely. I'm not sure where that slide went. So making sure that the goal is something that is realistic, right? Like I said, the example that I gave, there's no way that I could ever realistically save $20,000 in a year based on the income that I have and based on my finances. But it is realistic that I could probably save 5. And then timely, like I mentioned before, when do you want this? And how much time do you want to achieve this goal? So by the end of the month, by the end of 3 months, 6 weeks, whatever it might be, whatever the goal is, I only want to spend $10 this week on Starbucks, whatever it might be. It's very specific. It has boundaries. It's measurable. You will know if you've exceeded your goal or if you haven't met it. Okay. Does that work for everyone? Thumbs up if you're following me. 2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs up. All right, 75%. I'll take it. I don't have a choice. All right. With goals, it's important to understand that there are essentially 3 types. There are short-term goals, what we would consider midterm, and long-term. Short-term goals, as you see on the screen, are things that you can pay off or can address relatively quickly. within a couple of months, maybe let's say 3 to 5 months or 3 to 6 months. So building up an emergency fund that can actually switch depending on the amount that you're working towards. That can go from short to midterm, paying off bills, paying off debt, um, purchasing personal items. You might be saving up to buy something that you really want, or you might be saving up to travel, to take a trip or do study abroad. So you set a particular goal. I want to save X amount of dollars so that when I study abroad, I have X amount for spending money. Of course, a wedding happens on a particular day, so you save up to that day, or membership fees for clubs and organizations you may want to join. These are short-term things that have finite dates associated with them, right? With the exception of the emergency fund. But bill payments, credit cards, they all have dates by which a payment should be made or by which you want to have the money by, and that's how you kind of determine the goal. Midterm is contingent upon you. When do you want to actually have said item addressed? When do you want to have your if you have credit card debt or student loans, when do you want to have it paid off by? Immediately after you graduate, 7 years, it's up to you. You can decide. There's no date on that. You either want to save for a car, purchase a car. Again, when do you want to have those things addressed? And then finally, long term, I know, or maybe I don't know everything, but I can assume or guess that when you hear the word retirement, you're probably not thinking that that applies to you. You all are in your 20s. You're probably like, retirement, I don't have to think about that. But Dr. Russell and I beg you to start learning a little bit about retirement funds and that process. So that's something that's long-term for sure, right? You're going to be putting money away for at minimum 15 years. Paying off a mortgage, if you're able to buy a house relatively early, that's, a long-term thing. A typical mortgage is either 15 years or 30 years. So that's quite a bit of time. Starting a business has its, length of time. And of course, if you decide to have children, you may want to save and put money away over time for their college tuition. So your goals, it's good to just from a high level view, know, are they short, are they midterm, or are they long-term? We'll talk more about this next one, tracking your spending and your savings. Again, it just goes back to knowing where your money is going. There are different ways that you can do it. You can use, if you're a nerd like me and you enjoy Excel sheets, creating what's called a zero-sum budget, or you can use apps like Every Dollar, Splitwise, Pocket Guard, and Mint to do the tracking for you. Either way, it's important to know where your money is going so that you can project how close you are and how likely you are to reach your goal. And then finally, celebrate your accomplishments. Don't go celebrate by spending everything, because then that would kind of defeat the purpose. But when you do hit those milestones, acknowledge it for yourself, and that can be done in a number of ways. I'm not going to go into that, but with any goal that you're setting, regardless if it's financial or academic or personal, it's important to acknowledge that you've made that milestone, because that will propel you to continue striving further, expanding or extending the goal, and ultimately reaching your main objective. Any questions about goal setting? Pardon the background noise. None? All right. So next, we're going to talk about money habitudes. All righty, Dr. Russell, I'm going to stop sharing here. I think you're muted. Yep, you're muted.
I'm muted. I think before we do money habitudes, because I know we have to order them unless you're ready for that, we can talk about setting a goal. And so can I ask, would you all be willing to come on camera? Because it was so much easier when and nicer when we can see your faces. Thank you, Kendra. And when you all, thank you, Layla. When we're going to put you in breakout rooms to kind of peer review and check the a SMART goal. So Lead and Haley, are you able to engage in a breakout room?
Give us a thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay, well, Lee, what about you? For sure, okay.
All right, so maybe do you all have financial goals that you have already, thanks Haley, nice seeing you, that you all have readily identified after Medina's presentation? Are there things that are already front of mind or on your mind? Yeah, okay. All right, we got Bill coming in. All right, so can you just take a moment to write it down and try and make sure it's a SMART goal? Have you already done that? No? Okay, so just take a moment to write it down. Bill, we're talking about SMART goals and your personal financial goals. So if you can join us, come on camera.
Mhm.
Nice to see you. All right. If you can take a moment just to write down you're clear, you're familiar with SMART goals, Bill?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking that each of you write down a financial goal and to kind of beef that up by using the SMART goal framework to think about how that's going to be achievable for you. And then I'd like you to share with one another. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms just to give you about 5 or 6 minutes to share. And then for you all to, I don't want to necessarily say challenge one another, but peer review the process. Okay.
Got it.
All right.
Do the goals have to be like necessarily financial? It can just be
I
general.
wanted it to be because this is a financial workshop.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But almost everything we want to do has a financial lens, right?
Right.
Yes.
All right. So I will put you all in.
Medina, do you want me to put them in breakout rooms while you do the habitudes thing or okay? So we're gonna give you 6, let's say 7 minutes to share your goal and then with one another. I'll put you all 2 to a room. I'm gonna assign you automatically. And then just, ask clarifying questions to make sure that your peer partner has thought about if it's specific, measurable, attainable, or agreeable, right? Like who else is involved, realistic and time bound. There you go. Your breakout rooms are open. Again, I'll call you back at 7:45. All right. Bill's in my class.
Ah. What year is he?
Pretty sure he's a freshman. Not 100% sure, but maybe.
Let me share this so make sure you can see it. All right, so this is where I'm purchasing. Can you see this? Yeah.
Yep.
Where I'm purchasing. Students.
Sorry about that. Okay.
I should try this again. Great. I'm gonna try to,
I'm gonna pause the record.
and then distribute code, is that right?
Yes. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, you should be able to name, just give a code name or something, assign a code or something, and give it to everyone. All right, welcome back. Bill, Haley, Waleed, how did that work? Good? All right. You all have some nice concrete goals and you challenged one another to strengthen those, make them more concrete? Okay. All right, so when we talk about financial goals, that's really a foundation of everything related to personal finance. And I like to say, while we'll talk about some things, that might be some good tips and strategies. A really important thing to remember is that personal finance is just that, personal, right? So your own goals. So when you say, does it need to be a financial goal? It doesn't really, that's only because of the context of what we're talking about, but you all want to accomplish various things. And one way that you can do that is by, or the kind of the vision comes from some financial goals, right? So the next thing that we are going to do is to do this solitaire activity that Medina's getting up for us. She's going to give you a code. You'll be able to go try this out. But we didn't really do introductions. And so I know Medina introduced us, but I'd like to ask you if you can introduce yourself and say the best thing you do with your money is. So here, let me put this in the chat. You can say, my name is, and the best thing that I do with my money is. All right, so very simple. Would you mind, who would like to start?
I was just gonna say ladies first, so.
I was trying to volunteer, but my computer hated me. My name is Kendra, and the best thing I do with my money is track like payments I make, so like bills and the like.
Okay. Thank you, Kendra. Thank you, Medina. All right.
Oh, hello, my name is Bill, and the best thing I do with my money is invest it. Yeah.
All right. Kendra, track. Bill, invest. Haley, Layla.
Hi, sorry. Hi, my name is Layla, and the best thing I do with my money is save it. Like I put a little money to the side each month.
Okay. Thank you. Haley?
Hi, my name's Haley. I was also gonna say save it. I can't think of anything else.
Personal to you.
Okay. I didn't hear you. What did you say, Medina?
I said, no, you can still say it because it's personal.
Yeah.
To you want to do with
Yeah.
your money, so.
Yes.
You have a bunch of.
Waleed, might you have anything to add?
Yeah, my name is Waleed, and the best thing I do with my money is save it.
Okay. So we got a lot of savers. That's great. All right, so let's start with the money habitudes.
All right. So I'm gonna put this link in the chat. There we go.
So you'll click on this link. You're going to go through essentially an online solitaire game. That's called Money Habitudes, to discover your habits and attitudes around money. So we're going to give you about, it should take you less than 10 minutes, let's say 5 to 7 minutes to go through it. And then we'll see, let's debrief it, okay?
Are you all able to have, you all have access? Okay, perfect. All right. I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute.
You all can let us know if you are finished, but I have a timer with just under 5 minutes on it. So if you get done faster, just let us know. Bill, Haley, are you done? Okay. Kendra, Layla, are you done? Okay, Layla, you got some time. It's okay.
Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to say thank you. I'm double booked tonight, so I actually have to jump off. But thank you for the tips so far, and I have the results.
Okay,
Good night.
thank you. Good night.
All right, looks like Layla's done.
Okay. So looking at these results, what do you say, think? What reaction do you have?
I think it's pretty accurate, at least in my context. I tend to be like pretty spontaneous in terms of how I spend. Yeah.
If you look at the report, you'll see that there are some strategies that you can employ if you might want to, it gives you a perspective about what does spontaneous mean, for example, as well as carefree or planning or security, but then some strategies if you'd like to make some changes. So here's what I will say about all of these. These habitudes are essentially a way for you to think about, it gives you this lens or perspective to think about how you engage with money. There is literature about people having relationships with money, right? And how you think about what you're doing and how that thinking can help you reach your goals, right? So, for example, if you would like to be more of a planner, they give you some strategies on how to do that. It doesn't mean that you can't use money to enjoy life, right? That's what the spontaneity or the spontaneous habitude really says. You like to enjoy the nice life, right? We can't just work and not have any fun. So there is this balance. So I suggest you think about what these habitudes might mean and how it can help inform the way that you think about your financial goals and some other things that we're going to talk about today. Okay. All right, Medina, I'm looking at the time and I feel like I need to get moving.
Yep.
All right.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to talk a little bit about banking. Do you all have bank accounts now, savings and checking? Okay. So one of the biggest benefits of kind of a savings account is this idea of the, we can move on to the next slide, please, Medina, is time value of money. Have you all heard this term? So the time value of money, on the next slide, it says it's the single most important concept in personal finance. It helps you think about or actually calculate how much a dollar today, the value of a dollar, today's dollar in future terms. This can also help you think about, again, your financial goals. If you need to save, $25,000 in 10 years, what do I need to start putting away today in order to achieve that? This also can be, that's looking at present value. We can also look at the future value. The future value is essentially what we might consider when someone wins these mega millions, one of these, huge $1 million lotteries or millions of dollar lotteries. And they tell them what those earnings might be or what those payouts might be over an annuity, or they can get it all in a lump sum, right? Those are the two ways to think about future and present value. So on the next slide, this idea of banking, right? We have financial institutions like commercial banks. Where do you all bank? Not asking for any commercials, but yes, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, Bank of America.
Bank of America, okay. Haley's at a credit union, perfect. So when the financial institutions provide some safety and security, right? But we also have this entire kind of new space where we have these P2P cash transactions or applications, right? They were all called cash applications until Cash App came out. So do you all use Cash App or Zelle, Venmo? Are there others? You know, and what else might you use? Do you use anything else?
The main ones.
PayPal, yes, PayPal,
Oh, yeah.
yes. I forgot about PayPal. And so these help you transfer money quickly. Oftentimes now you can even split an Uber, right? And through using various cash applications. What do you use most? Do you use these applications tied to a bank account, or do you use them kind of differently? Do you have a Cash App card, for example? Or is your Cash App tied to your own bank account? How do you use these services?
Well, I guess for me, Cash App and Venmo, it's primarily linked to my bank account, so I just use it for like day-to-day transactions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so how do you distinguish between these? Do you use one, like for example, Zelle is free. Is Cash App free? Are Venmo and PayPal free for you? Everything's free? Okay. All right, so that's one thing to look at when you're looking at these cash applications. Sometimes there could be charges, so you want to be aware of that.
There are charges with Venmo, for sure.
There are charges with Venmo?
Like I think it's like 25 cents on the dollar or something like that for each if you can exchange the money, but if you want to transfer the money from Venmo as a holding space to your your account to actually get the money, they charge you for that. I don't think it's doing. Maybe PayPal does, depending on the type of transaction you're doing.
Yeah, I think it definitely has to do with the type of transaction too. Yeah, and even something like Zelle, which is free, tied to most bank accounts, is only to a certain limit, right? So there are all different caveats or nuances about these. So in the next slide, let's talk about banking. You all have bank accounts. Layla, where do you bank? Do you have a bank account at a credit union or at a major commercial bank?
A commercial bank, Wells Fargo.
Okay, Wells Fargo, okay. So the reason that we have bank accounts and engage with financial institutions really are for these 6 reasons: convenience, safety and soundness, and unfortunately, I put convenience first because that's what people care about. They want to be able to have easy access to their money. Safety and soundness, you likely know for both of, for Bill and Layla, you all have FDIC insurance. That means if the bank fails, FDIC will give you your money up to $250,000 per account. Haley, you have something similar, but it's through the National Credit Union Association, NCUA. FDIC is Federal Deposit Insurance Corp. So you all have this protection. That's one reason that we use a bank account. Years ago, and I mean hundreds of years ago, it was acceptable to have your money under your mattress or in your room, things like that, but that's not really safe. It also provides a savings vehicle, right? A place where you can, what I like to say, earn interest on top of interest, or compounding, which we should get to in a second. It can be inexpensive. That is with this caveat of if you choose carefully. So some commercial banks, Layla and Bill, for example, you all likely have student accounts. But after you come out of student status, there could be a minimum monthly payment if you don't have a certain balance in your account. So you want to be careful and pay attention to those things. We also use banks so that we can transact or transfer. All of the things that we're talking about with Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and Zelle, But we used to do it with just writing a check, right? We don't write checks that much anymore. Now we can send money using Apple Pay. And then banks also help us with an extension of credit, right? You can, it's important to have a depth and breadth with your financial institution. You want to build a relationship with that financial institution, because your financial institution can help you achieve some of your goals. So on the next slide, I'll go through this slide quickly. Most banking or financial institutions offer you these 6 services: savings accounts, checking accounts, money market, which is often just considered a interest-bearing checking, a certificate of deposit, which is like a savings account, but with a certificate of deposit or a CD, you promise to leave your money there locked up in an account, and they pay you the bank pays you a higher interest rate because you promise not to touch it for a specific term. So for example, I'm curious, can you all check your bank, the financial institution where you bank, and see what is the current savings rate? What's the interest rate that you're earning on your savings account? And can you see if they offer CDs, and what's the rate available for the longest term? Can you just do that for a quick second? I did this earlier. I was a little disappointed at my savings rate. If you want, you can just type it in the chat. Tell us what you found.
Okay. I think for Bank of America, it's 0.05. Well, they have different tiers for how much you earn. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I just picked mine and my credit union. My savings is 0.01 and the CD would be 0.045. So certainly not a ton of money, but if I can commit to not touching it and it's just sitting there, at least it's growing a little bit faster. Most banks also offer retirement accounts, typically IRAs or individual retirement accounts. If you all have earned income, you can open one. You can contribute up to $6,000 a year. It may sound like retirement is a far, far, far off thing, but I promise you, it'll be here before you know it. I remember being in college and thinking, I don't need to start saving for real. And then one day I woke up and I realized I'm happy I started. And then there are also brokerage accounts. And these are accounts that you may already have where you can, I know, Bill, you said one of the best things you do with your money is invest. So you may have a brokerage account where you can buy or sell securities. So the next 2 slides, we can run through them really quickly. Savings account. Reason you have a savings account is for emergencies, targeted savings. It gives you safe growth. It's easy access, should be low maintenance, sorry for the typo, and also easy setup. Now, one thing here, if you have an inexpensive, a low cost or no cost savings account, a really a good suggestion is to have multiple savings accounts that are associated with your goals. So for example, you all mentioned that you all talked about your financial goals. If you had a goal to, let's just use this example, to save, to buy a car and also to save for a trip to Hawaii, you might want to have them in two separate accounts so that you could see that it's more of a behavioral economics thing, right? You can see that your balance is increasing and it helps you feel like you're getting closer to your goal. On the next slide, we can look at checking accounts. Now, do you all actually write checks? How do you use your checking account?
I just use my card, like whenever I go places. I haven't
Okay.
signed a check ever.
Okay. Others?
Yeah, me neither. Never really had to write a check.
Okay. So would you all mind sharing like one of your financial goals and how like one of your financial goals? I wonder, like, do you see something like a separate account could be helpful? I'm gonna see if, I just have to step away for a quick second. If Medina, if you could talk about that for a quick second for me? Okay.
Here we go. You can hear me now, yes? All right. So for example, actually perfect example, my sorority sisters and I are going to be celebrating our 15-year anniversary. I know I don't look like I've been on earth for 15 years, but surprise, surprise, I have. And so we're going away in June on vacation. So I have a number of things that I'm working on right now, preparing to purchase a home, starting a business. So my money is kind of pulled in different places. And knowing this, I have several different accounts, but I use Capital One in particular because they have a money market account, which has relatively higher interest rates. So that is where I've been putting money away in preparation for going on vacation. That's a particular goal I've set. Like I want to have this amount of money. For me, it's only a weekend, so about $2,000 put to the side for spending during the vacation. So that's a goal that I have, and I have a separate account for it, vacations. So do any of you have anything along those lines? Any particular goals that you're working toward right now?
It's understandable if you don't, right? And I know that this was a part of the conversation earlier, but Medina, how does having that separate account like help you visualize your achievement?
So for one, it allows me to see each not each month, because we get paid twice a month, but with each check, I'm seeing the amount grow. And I'm able to, sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, oh, I actually need some money. I take a little bit out and I spend it. But me being able to see what that number is allows me to continue, building it because I know the number that I'm working towards. It's also having a separate account makes it far less likely for me to misspend it, if that's a term. What I've done in the past is I've had a number in my mind and I'll say, okay, like I put in the chat, I use my checking account for everyday things. I almost rarely carry cash. It's almost weird to me to have cash in my hand. It's like, oh, what a wonderful artifact. And so it's when I have a separate account for vacations, I know automatically when I'm running to the store for groceries, I'm not spending my vacation money. It's already put to the side. It's allotted for, and I can see how close I'm getting to that goal. It also lets me know like, okay, I must put maybe a little bit more in the account this pay period, or okay, I did pretty well over the last couple. I can back off a little bit. So it just allows me a more informed. It gives me, it allows me to make more informed decisions about how to spend, because I know what that goal is down the line in June, and I can see how much I'm moving to and from it. And also, if I'm honest, you know, sometimes my sorority sisters can be a little flaky. It has happened in the past where we've planned to go on trips and they're like, oh yeah, we'll go. And we get close and then no one shows up or it falls apart. But now I have this pool of money that I've been saving that I can now reallocate to something else or just keep it there as a general vacation line. So that's how it's worked for me. Don't tell them that I call them flaky.
Nobody will tell them that you call them flaky. All right. So, thank you. So you might not have that experience just yet, but that's a way to use tools to help you. So again, checking, right? Kind of all of the good benefits of a savings account, except this is the account that we use to transfer money. Mm-hmm. I won't even ask you to look because most of you, at least your commercial banks at Wells and Bank of America, you're not earning interest on your checking. You may be earning interest at a credit union, but this is really the account where you just have enough money to pay your bills. So on the next slide, there are really a few of them. And Waleed, you asked about this, you'll get it. But the reason that we care about having a bank account is this difference between simple interest and compounding, right? With compounding, you earn interest on top of interest. And so we can run through these slides really quickly. Medina, so here you see that, you know, if I saved $1,000 at 8% over the next 4 years, you'll see that's about $320 that I would have earned. But if I had, that's only on simple interest. If I have my account in an account where it's compounding, and compounding, as Albert Einstein said, is the 8th wonder of the world, you'll see that it gives you an extra $40 or so, right? Because what ends up happening from a compounding perspective on this slide, you see that $1,080 after 1 year, that's the new principle, right? So I continue to earn interest on top of interest. So compounding, some people say it's the gift that keeps on giving. You know, I'm not sure if it's quite gift, but that is what people say. So I think on the next slide, one more. It'll just show you the difference between an account where you are earning interest, compounded interest versus not on the next one. And so here you see it's a difference between $40 and 49 cents. So this is, you know, one could argue like, are we actually talking about $40 over 4 years? How significant is that? But the idea is the more you save, you know, it's like a snowball effect. So this is one reason why we care about interest rates and we care about compounding. Okay. All right. So you all did this, and I guess everybody but Bill, and I'm not sure about Waleed, but we have a spending challenge for you. So let's start with the spending recall. You all mentioned or typed in on the Jamboard. I learned new things with Medina. On the Jamboard, you wrote how you had spent your money, right? You all still have that kind of front of mind? So what I'd like you to do is kind of jot that down. We don't have to do it on the Jamboard, but just jot it down on a piece of paper. And I want you to think about what you spent, what you spent money on, how much money for that thing, and what emotion did it evoke? So Medina, you said that you spent money, you recently spent money. So can you tell us just think about what you spent money on today. Medina, just for the purpose of this exercise, what did you spend money on today?
No judgment here, people.
No judgment.
I got my eyelashes done. I purchased an outfit. It was sewn. And I purchased gas. Those are like the last 3 transactions that I had. Lashes.
A dress or
an outfit.
Okay. All right. So I'm just writing this down. So tell us, can you tell us how much those 3 things cost, or you don't want to tell us that?
That's fine. Y'all can judge me. It's fine. Gas, I was on E, so that was about $60. Lashes were again, don't hold me. They were about 150. And then the outfit was 160. Bill, I see the judgment. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So how do each of these make you feel? So how do you feel like if you had to do a smiley face, straight face, sad face? How do you feel about the gas?
I have an attitude about the gas because not too long ago, it was only $40 to fill the tank. And I think over the last 2 months, it's risen. It only took me about $42 to fill my tank, and now it's 60.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you a crooked straight face.
Yeah. The 150, it stings a bit because I was running late and I needed the technician to do me a favor. So it's kind of like more like embarrassment. I would never tell my mom that I spent this amount of money on lashes. I wouldn't do this normally.
Do you like the lashes?
Yeah, I do. But I honestly would typically not pay this much. Normally I would pay around like $70, but I was in a pinch and my back was up against the wall, so I needed to pay.
So we're going to give it the same look as the gas?
Yep. And then the outfit, it's like I've wanted to sew these clothes for a while. And I think it's a fair price for what the woman did. Yeah, so I'm like, I'm okay about it. I'm excited-ish.
Okay, so that's an excited-ish, not a full smile.
Not a full.
Okay.
Not a full.
So can somebody tell me, why do you think, we're just using Medina's example, but I hope that you all consider this too. Why might your emotions around how you spent money matter? Do you think it's important to consider that? How you feel about how you're spending money? Do you think that it would influence how you continue to spend money or not?
Yeah, I think it definitely does.
Okay. Okay. So on the next slide, well, I guess you could go through the next two. I also, Medina was willing to share. I'm also willing to share, right? So I have mine here. This is a little old, the next one, Medina, because you know, you can't really go to the grocery store and come out with $45 unless it's half a bag.
Right.
But things have changed. But you know, I felt good about some things, felt bad about some, and indifferent around some others. So let's talk about the challenge we have for you. We want you all, this is the kickoff for the Secure in the Bag series, right? And so we want you to start tracking all of your expenses, like literally every penny you spend, right? And there is something in it for you, right? There is are we announcing what the prize is, or is it, do we leave them?
We can give a little bit of information.
Okay.
So, in tracking your spending, I'll say this, there is a possibility that you will have the opportunity to open an account, and whatever you put in that account will be matched by someone else. So for example, if you put in $20, another group or entity will also add $20 to that account for you in opening it. Possibly, allegedly, maybe.
And if you put in 100, will someone match 100, or is there going to be a max?
There may.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, the goal is that we just want you to track and
right.
see where your money is going, right? We can't really, it's like GPS, right? If we don't put in think about where we're starting from, it won't really help us get to, it'll be hard to calculate where we're going to end up. And so tracking all of your expenses is very, very helpful. And we do this so we know where we're spending our money. We do this so we can identify if some of our habits and behaviors are supporting the goals we're trying to meet or not. But let's spend a little bit of time on the how in the last 3 or 4 minutes that we have. And what I really want to talk about are some of the apps. Medina showed you a couple of them earlier. You can run through the slides one by one. I can do it fast. This is just a little, I thought it was funny, comic, right? The app is linked to my financial advisor and provides simulated hand holding when the market is down, right? So like everybody thinks apps can do everything, and we know they can. Technology can help, but it doesn't do it all. The reality is that, you know, a fifth of us spend more money than we make because we don't track what we're doing, and we lack sufficient savings. So when there is an emergency, we're not prepared. So this is kind of enter the personal financial management tool. Whether it's mint.com is something that I know a lot of young people will use. This is an example of a PFM where it aggregates all of your accounts. You may not have many accounts today, but as you kind of mature in age and in financial prowess, you'll have more accounts, right? You could have a brokerage account, savings checking, a credit card or two. This allows you to put it all together. These are some examples of personal financial management tools that can help you, give you real live or real-time data, and helps you to think about all your transactions. So this will be we'll send this out for you. In the slides here too, I also give you some ideas about how to evaluate. I think on slide 32, if we go there, Medina, how to select and evaluate the tools, right? So you might want to have something that's really easy. No one said PNC, but I know PNC, again, I don't make recommendations on banks, but I do understand PNC has and Bank of America both have a tool where they allow you to aggregate everything, and you can see, oh, here's what you're spending on groceries. Here's what you're spending on Amazon and shopping, those types of things. So you want to figure out what would be helpful for you to make better financial decisions, and some of these tools can help. One of the biggest things about these personal financial management tools, and again, it isn't that we are suggesting you use a tool, but we're saying find some way to track. Some people carry around a little notebook, just a little notebook, and they write down everything that they do. Today, though, I don't know that you all would want to do that. Some people keep all their receipts and put it in an Excel file. Some people use, someone told me they use Notability or Notion or something like this, with like a relational database. You can use whatever you want. The key is to track. And we're asking that you track your expenses for at least 30 days. And then that will help you create your spending plan. Right. And ultimately, in 2 weeks, next weekend, we'll be talking about, you all will be learning about spending plans and how to develop them. So on the last slide, I have a couple final thoughts for you. This is not necessarily for you to respond to me today, but for you to think about and maybe be prepared to, if you want to share it today, we welcome it, but maybe think about this and be prepared to share it in 2 weeks or a week and a half. How do your habitudes, right, and some of your experiences actually influence or affect your money management style or your money personality? That's what we'll talk about, that relationship with money. And then thinking about kind of some of the things that we've gone over, evaluating your financial goals, thinking about tracking, thinking about if you're spending your money the way that you want to, what might you start doing and what might you stop doing to help you reach your goals? Does anybody have an immediate reaction to that? This is definitely something you probably want to reflect on. Anybody?
Off the top of anyone's head, are there any changes that they know financial changes that they know they want to make? Maybe not in pursuit of a goal, but just in general. Or habits they want to address or add on in regards to their finances. Acquire.
Do you think you can share one at the next session? Share something about this at the next session? No putting you on the spot, Bill? So think about it, right? Like, you know, I think I would challenge you to think about what you're spending your money on as you track it. Think about what are the emotions that it exudes? Like, how do you feel about it? And it might even, I do this with some of our graduate students. And some of them say when they know they have to write down how the emotion that was evoked, it stops them from doing it. Right? Like, oh, I was going to buy coffee, but I know I don't really need it. I even had it at home. So let me just not do that, right? So these are just tools that you can use to help you reach your financial goals. Does that make sense? All right. Do you think you can try one or two of these things we've talked about today? All right. Okay.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Just a quick housekeeping thing. So I'm going to email all of you a couple of items. You'll get an email that includes an evaluation of this workshop. There was only 5 of you here, so I'll be looking for 5 responses. You can't hide the number. We spoke about in the beginning, of course, setting financial goals. I'm going to send you in that same email a checklist. It's kind of like to assess what you know and where you are in your financial understanding. You don't have to submit it back, but it's just to kind of help you get an idea of where you are and where you want to go. Thirdly, I'll also attach in that email a worksheet that you can use that is in continuation of the money habitudes activity that you did. And then the last thing will be a little bit of information regarding the savings challenge. And so you can have that. And of course, this presentation will also be attached in that email as well. This was recorded, and so you'll have access to the recording as well. You'll see that if you follow the Hop-In program or JHU Fly Network, the calendar for all of the financial events coming up are on both of those Instagram sites in the link tree. And that is it. Are there any questions? We're like 6 minutes over. We apologize. Any questions about anything we shared? All right, I see no's. You'll be receiving that email tonight with all of those attachments. Dr. Russell, do you have anything to close? All right.
I don't have any closing remarks, but it was a pleasure seeing you all. I know it's getting late. I feel the same way, Haley. So you all have a good night, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.